Okay, now that once you've rotated your pieces 90 degrees, now is the time to apply the glue. So we're going to be using Type Bond 2, which is a relatively water-resistant glue, which is a good idea because it's going to be a cutting board. So we'll be washing it. We don't want the glue to turn to, back to liquid once while you're washing it. So we'll take the glue. We'll take the glue bottle, and we're going to apply a bead, like so, along the length of it. And we can do that for every single piece. Now, like I said earlier, your wood's only going to be as thick and as long as the shortest piece and the thinnest piece. So you don't need to necessarily spread glue over the entire thing, just where you think the surfaces are actually going to meet. There we go. All right. So once you've put it on, to make sure that you have enough glue, you can take your finger and you can spread it around. You want it to be relatively thick, but of course, if you put on too much, then it's just going to drip and make a big mess. But if you don't put on enough, that's actually a worst situation, because then you're going to have what's called a starved joint, and it's not going to be very strong. So we definitely want that, the right amount, of course, right? But let's err on the side of too much, definitely. There we go. And one more piece. There we go. Okay, of course, making sure that you're gluing it up over top of a sheet of paper so that we're not making a mess on a table that we have to clean up later. Now, what's a really good idea is to make sure that you're lining up one end, because as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be as short as your shortest piece. So if you have them all sort of at different angles, then your cutting board is going to end up being shorter than it needs to be. Of course, this has notches in it that I don't want in there anyway, so I'm going to have that sticking out a little bit. Almost there. Go. Okay, there we go. So I've got this end nice and square. I'm going to slide it a little bit more this way. Make sure that these are locked, and then I'm going to start clamping it down. And you can alternate back and forth between the two clamps. It's a good idea. There we go. Now when we clamp it, what we're looking for is a nice even squeeze out between each of the pieces of wood. That shows that we have a good amount of glue. That's what we're looking for. It's just a little bit of squeeze out at the edge. If you put too much on, then it's going to gush everywhere. It's a bit messy, but not that big an issue. But if you don't see any glue squeeze coming out, then you need to take it back apart and add more glue, because at that point you don't have enough glue, and you're going to need to, and your joint's going to be weak. There we go. Now we're just going to check it underneath and make sure that it's relatively flat. So you feel the ends, make sure that it's relatively flat. It's not going to be perfect, but you don't want any pieces sort of sticking out like a sore thumb, because it'll be difficult to deal with later. Okay, so that's really good. We don't need to make any adjustments. You want to leave this for at least 20 minutes in the clamp. Okay, once it's 20 minutes, it won't be fully cured. It takes 24 hours to fully cure, but 20 minutes will allow it to dry enough that you can take it out and it's not going to fall apart.